and welcome back to Sullivan's Unheard Voices. I'm here with Kathryn Grimm. Thank you so much for the opportunity to interview you today. The first time I saw you was on the stage with the Mekong River Band,
Really?
and yeah,
Okay.
and that was how I was turned on to you. And I remember like you playing up on stage, and I was like, "Wow!" Like, so the first question I always ask, like, how did you get started in the music?
Oh boy, is that ever a long story? You want to really want to start from the beginning?
Yeah,
Okay. Just tell me if it's getting too long. I'm gonna try to really
yeah.
abbreviate it. So I'm from Seattle, like you. I'm from Seattle. I was a very introverted child, very extremely shy, and music was my savior. I had two older sisters, and so they were quite a bit older than me, and they just had an amazing record collection. So I was just turned on to the most incredible stuff as a child. Joni Mitchell, somebody my age probably is going to be listening to Joni Mitchell, and she just like changed my world, because I'd listened to her lyrics. They were so personal, and I glommed onto them because I just totally, even at 10 years old, I resonated with her words. She made me feel way less lonely. So, at around 10, I took, my mother got me guitar lessons. And then I took a guitar class at my middle school. I guess I was in seventh grade. And the teacher was trying to force me to perform. And I just didn't want to do it. I did not want to sing in public. And I could sing as a little girl. I could sing pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice voice. But I learned the song on guitar, this really fancy finger-picking song. I think it was Don't Think Twice. And so she let me not, let slide on the singing. So I just play guitar and backdrop while she sang. So that was like my first experience playing in public, and then I was hooked. So that was the beginning of my thinking of my career. I didn't really get into music until quite a bit later because I had to get out of Seattle. Really.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Like, because I couldn't start this podcast until I was here as well, right? I always wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't until I left Seattle where I felt like I had the ability to do so. There's just something about Seattle. No offense, Seattle. Not no offense, but there's something about Seattle that just stifles creativity, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you
we're
remember
the Seattle freeze, right?
right.
Real phenomenon.
Oh, it's so wild. Like I'll never forget like not talking to my neighbors for 10 years. It's like it's because I grew up in Snohomish, and so you have that sense of community in a rural sort of community, and then you get to Seattle and it's just totally different vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember like the first song that you learned on guitar?
Probably blowing in the wind.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Three chord song.
And then along the way, how did you like was there a time when you started realizing "Yeah, I'm pretty good at this?
Well, that didn't come till quite a bit later because I was not a delinquent, but I really didn't have a strong mentor. Kind of a fractured family, single mom who was working constantly.
Yeah.
She finally got a job at the Space Needle, and she calls that the job that saved us because she was able to finally make some money, and we stopped moving from place to place. So, in high school, I wasn't really focused on uh, performing and practicing. I was still kind of shy, and I went to loads of concerts. I was like, somehow I'd always end up backstage. I was like 14.
Yeah.
My sister's thick ID, and well, she was 9 years older than me, so I have this expired driver's license of hers. Instead, I was 9 years older. So I'm 14, hanging out with all these older people in clubs. So I did that for years, and it wasn't really until I was maybe 19 or 20 that I started getting a little bit more serious because I was smoking a lot of weed
Yeah.
in high school and doing a lot of psychedelics, which was life changing for me actually. And I hope I answered your question, but it took me a while to get to the point where this is what I want to do. It's because I had a bunch of crappy jobs, and I go, I don't want to do this. In fact, the job that really made me want to move forward with music for real and move to LA. There's a couple things that made me want to move to LA desperately. One was I came down to LA when I was 19, and I stayed with the mentors. They were friends of mine they went to Roosevelt High, and I went to like three different high schools. I went to Ingram for a while. So they were a Seattle band to start with, and they're notorious. I don't know if you know who they are, but they moved to LA to get the big time. So I came and visited them, and that was a life-changing week. I was 19, yeah. And then I can't remember the other monumental thing. Oh, I worked in a recording studio. I don't want to say which one, but
Yeah.
I didn't particularly like the job. I was the grunt person. It was, the only girl serving coffee, and I was actually really good at splicing and doing some technical things, but I wasn't really treated well, and so I knew that I thought I might want to make that my profession to be a professional engineer. And I said, I want to be on the other side of the window. I want to be the musician who's writing the songs.
Yeah.
That's when I chose to move to LA and really focus on it. So when did I feel, it took me some time. I think I was a slow learner. For anyone who's trying to play guitar, to learn guitar, it took me years, literally years, to really get to the point where, and I still don't feel like I'm where I want to be. And I think that most musicians feel that way. I think that there's always something to strive for. So probably in my mid-20s, I was saying, I think I can do this. And that was when I wrote my first song. I was kind of a late bloomer. Plus, I was also using Joni as my, she was my song reference. So I'd write some lyrics that weren't that great. And I didn't think I'd ever be able to reach that level of songwriting. So it took me a while to even show some of my songs. So yeah, that's kind of a long answer, but
no,
there's kind of a process to get to that point.
There's no such thing as a long answer on this podcast. There's really not. And so, like, you made this commitment and you sort of switched towards, like, writing and music and all this stuff. And then, like, what was the next step? What was the next band you were in?
Well, I went to GIT. Are you familiar with that school?
No.
I wanted to either go to Berkeley.
Okay.
Or go to the Guitar Institute. Two completely, totally different worlds.
Okay.
Because Berkeley was an accredited college.
Yeah.
And GIT at the time was like a 1-year vocational school. So I decided to save some money and go to LA because I'd been to LA with the mentors and I loved LA. I loved the sunshine. I was just tired of freezing to death. So I made it down to LA and I went to that school and by the time I got out, I was okay. They really crammed a lot of information in 9 months. So I was okay, but I would just start auditioning for bands. So I didn't know that many songs, so I'd learn some new songs. I'd go for auditions. I usually wouldn't get the gig, but then I started kind of compiling a repertoire.
Yeah.
And eventually I started playing with some better people, but mainly I started my own band. I wanted to play my own music, so that's kind of what got me going, and I basically became a PR person. I learned how to do all my own promoting, so it was kind of, the urge to play my own material and get out there.
And so you formed the Kathryn Grimm band then?
Well, that was much later.
Much later, okay.
When I was going to GIT, I met the young Jeff Buckley, who was like 17 years old at the time. He came into one of my rehearsals and just kind of forced himself on stage. And then, like 5 years later, we were looking for a guitar player, and our drummer knew him, so he came to one of our gigs. He was like, I love this band. I want to be in your band. So he joined our band. And then I really started getting serious because I had to book some shows for this band. So at the time, we were doing the material of my late partner. And he was like a female Joni. He was just like from another world. He was just so prolific. He would just sit and write, when there could be chaos going on. He was always able to crank something out that was just beautiful. So we were doing his material. I took it out of a drawer and I put this band together. We started playing all over LA and we were definitely getting noticed. It was a really, really fun, amazing time. So.
And then how did you end up here in Oregon?
Well, years later, that's after I did KGB, Kathryn Grimm Band. I did that for years after Group Therapy was the name of the band with Jeff after that broke up. And I was in LA for a total of 30 years.
Okay.
My mom was just getting older. She was in her 80s. And I kept thinking a lot about her, and I go, man, if I don't go now and spend some quality time with her, I don't know when that's going to happen. So I pulled the plug on LA. By that time, I had an agent. I was acting and doing print work, I was modeling, doing like the best gig. So I kind of sacrificed a lot to go up to Seattle. And then that's when I had the culture shock. I mentioned about going back to Seattle. It was like, wow, I just remembered why I left here in the first place. But I got to spend some great time with my mom. That was the whole point of that. And then I had a house here. It's a long story. But the tenant moved out and I ended up in Portland. And very happy about that. I do love Portland.
Portland's kind of a magical place for me too.
Yes.
Yeah. It's it's the first place where I feel like I can be authentically myself
Mhm.
and not have to hide the fact that I'm autistic or not hide the fact that, whatever. It's very almost like a liberating city, if you
Yeah,
will. And
feel
then,
that
of
way too.
course, I stumbled into the music scene down here, and I've been a huge fan ever since. And one of the things that I appreciate you as an artist is so I was reviewing sort of like some of the things, and I stumbled across one of your pages where you were teaching folks in a different country how to
Oh,
sing.
in Thailand, yeah.
How amazing was
Yeah,
that?
I was a teacher for 20 years.
Yeah,
I had like every job you can imagine because I was trying to survive as a
yeah,
musician. So I did temp work. I did so many things, and I ended up, I went to Cal State LA. I got 2 degrees back to back because I finished my degree from I started at University of Washington like 20 years before. So I'm like in my late 30s. I get a degree in jazz studies, and I realized like a bachelor's degree is going to get me nothing. I'm going to have to get a master's degree. It's like the last thing that I wanted. I didn't want to stay in school for one more second as an older adult who'd been out in the world already performing everywhere. But I got the degree in 1 year. I killed myself to get the master's degree, and then I applied for a job, and there are of course no jobs because people die. You have to die before you can get a job. Someone has to pass away. Those jobs are really in demand. So,
really competitive, and
yeah.
nobody ever leaves.
So I
Yeah,
started teaching out of my apartment in Hollywood, basically in the slums. I was really good at cleaning up graffiti and
yeah,
getting the mattresses picked up. I knew exactly who to call to get the place presentable when parents are dropping their kids off to me. So I started my own teaching business. And then I got a call finally from a community college, and I went and worked in the real world. I figured, oh, that looked good in my resume. There's not much on my resume other than private teaching
yeah.
and a bunch of temp jobs. And that was basically a turning point for me, a horrific job. So I really got serious about my private teaching after that job because working in academia was a shocker. Yeah, so I taught for 20 years, and that experience in Thailand was phenomenal. It's a long story, but I went. That school is a sister school to another school. It's in Malibu.
Okay.
That's run by Susie Cameron, and it was just that was like literally 2 steps away from Burma. I could have walked across this little creek and been in Burma, but it was not safe. But it was that close to Burma, and as I was teaching, I could look out the window. There's no window. There was like this hole in the straw,
Yeah,
and the children with no shoes and like no food. They came to the school to get something to eat because they were starving. And you'd look out this window and you see their parents out in the fields working for $3 a day. So and that was quite an experience. And I came home from that, and I was changed. I was a changed person. In fact, a couple weeks after I got home, my van got stolen. I was living in Laurel Canyon, right on Laurel Canyon, up from the country
yeah.
store. I was teaching out of this cute little cottage. I moved my van out of the way to make room for a student, and in broad daylight, I come back outside after about an hour, and my van's gone. I'd left my gear in the van. I had been out the night before, so I started making phone calls to the police. I go, if you find my van, just call me. Because I didn't want to have it towed.
Yeah.
Once you get it towed, they're going to charge a fortune. So that's exactly what happened. It's at the tow place for less than 24, well, like 24 hours and 3 minutes. So they charged me a fortune to get it out. And but before then, I wrote the song. I go, well, that's a drag. My van's gone, But
Yeah.
Because I'd been in Thailand and watching this horrific scene, with these children and the parents working so hard, it wasn't that difficult for me to stomach, my van is being gone. I was lucky to even have a van. So I ended up writing this song called "God Is Testing Me" with a nice message about, there's always somebody else out there that's way worse off, and so get over yourself.
And that's kind of like a personal philosophy of mine as well. Like, and that's fairly recent, because like I've been on like 3 or 4. Like I lived in Germany for 2 years,
Really?
and
Where in
it was
Germany?
Baumholder.
Okay, I've been to Germany a few times.
Yeah, so it was about an hour and a half southeast of Frankfurt,
Okay.
as where I was stationed. I was stationed there for 2 years, And I didn't do what the other soldiers did. Like, I didn't get drunk and do all that stuff. No, we rented a car every other weekend, and we would just drive to these little towns and just get to the chance to like talk to people and get to meet people. And it really did change my life because you start to have a different perspective. Like, you're thinking like life is the American way, but then once you get out of the United States, it's like it can be just as good with different kind of scenarios. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mhm.
And then throughout my life, gone to different places. Like I was just in Costa Rica, same kind of thing that you're talking about. People are working for $3 or $4 a day down there,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, your heart goes out. It's just like so much poverty and so much like need, and just not enough resources. It was just a wild experience.
Yeah.
So when you got back, then that's when you sort of hit the ground running
Yeah, I
musically.
was back in LA, and I think at that point I was recording Transition Girl. That is a pretty dark album
Yeah,
because I'd been through a kind of a tough loss, and it's some of my best. You know, it's. I don't write just happy songs.
yeah,
I really write when I feel the muse. I feel the need to express, and it's great if I'm happy all the time. But a lot of my better stuff is it's not happy. But I think that's the stuff about Joni that I liked. You know, it wasn't always happy. Just talking about her losses, and it really rang true to me. So I write when I'm in all kinds of moods.
and I've said this like so many times on this podcast already, but I really do believe that the muse is a living thing,
Mhm.
and that when the muse visits you, you never know what it's going to happen. But at the same time, like the music that comes from that emotional place is usually the best music. And I have an affinity towards music that has a different kind of angle that way, because it's those songs that get people who are experiencing that at the moment, it gets them through.
Yeah, they're not alone.
Yeah.
That's
It's the hugest epiphany. It's the when that thought of like I'm not alone, someone else is speaking this to music. It's a game changer.
yeah.
It's just something about it. Just like, and I've spent so many nights crying to different songs through different hard times, you know, and it's just you need that, I think. And so I appreciate that angle a lot. Uh, what's your process like? Does just like stuff come to you like at night, in the middle of just have to write things down? Like,
Well, different things. I remember my last few months at Cal State LA when I was just thinking, I really want to quit. I can't take this anymore because I was driving from Hollywood into Cal State. Cal State LA is in like the ghetto. It's in East
yeah,
LA. It's picked up a lot. It's much nicer than it used to be. But I remember thinking, like, I'm going to be too old to be doing rock and roll pretty soon. So I'm driving. I'm thinking this, like, oh my God, I'm going to take a few months more of this. So I'm thinking maybe I should just be a country artist, like a country gospel artist. So by the time I got to Cal State, it was within like 10 minutes. I had written this song called Only God Loves Girls Who Play Guitar. And that was one of the few songs where it doesn't always happen, where the lyrics and the music come together simultaneously.
yeah,
And I cracked myself up when I got there. I go, this is a really good song. I tried to shop that too. I had a publishing company at the time. I tried to shop it to Dolly Parton and the Dixie Chicks or the Chicks because I just thought it was just such a great song. It's about, at least God is a fan of yours,
yeah.
So um, that happened as a surprise, and sometimes it'll happen if I force it to happen. That's not the way I like it to happen, but sometimes I'll have a looming deadline. I guess I work good under stress because I've written a lot of songs under deadlines. That, well, actually, I'm working on two albums right now at the same time. One's going to be blues, and one's going to be kind of miscellaneous.
Oh, interesting. That's awesome.
I needed one more blues song.
Yeah,
I needed 5 songs for this EP. And I really didn't have any ideas, but I cranked something out, and it's really good. I really like it. So it just depends. And sometimes I just have the need to express, or sometimes I'm angry about something, the state of the world. I have some of those songs, where I'm just trying to figure things out. And the songs I write are me kind of figuring out life still. So it happens all different kinds of ways. Or I might be playing bass. I'll come up with a cool bass line. That'll become a song. I don't have any lyrics yet. Sometimes I'll do lyrics first. So I don't really have a method.
And I appreciate that, right? And because like one of the things that I stress to people who are trying to sort of get into music and enjoy music is that music is not an easy thing. It takes a lot of work, time, and dedication to become a talented musician. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not something like, well, I could take that back. There are one or two people that I know who picked up guitar in like 3 months, could outplay like a lot of people, but those are the rare exceptions. And even they had to practice for hours and hours to get that way. And so I have this huge appreciation for music now that I kind of have the ability to see how the sauce is made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and it's fascinating because like how challenging is it to get 5 different personalities in a room playing 5 different pieces, yet somehow come together collectively in unison, crank out a song. Like the odds of that happening statistically are practically zero, but yet it happens time and time and time and time again on stage, and it's just magical. Music, like I couldn't imagine a world without music. Like that would suck so bad.
Pretty black and white.
Oh yeah, it would be terrible. Terrible.
Pretty drab.
Yeah. And I didn't get into music till late in life.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't start. My first record was Metallica Black, and I was 16 years old. And I think I've said this before, but I hated it. I absolutely hated it the first 3 times I listened to it.
Wow, you listened to it again.
I listened to it 2 more times, and then the 4th time I listened to it, I'm like, wait a minute. This is starting to make sense. You're supposed to be angry when you hear this song. You're supposed to have this sort of emotional reaction when you hear this music. And it wasn't until that moment that I connected emotion with music, because music was not in my house at all.
Wow.
Yeah, it was totally absent. And so from that day forward, it's just been a journey for music. And I love pretty much any music out there.
Do you like Rage Against the Machine?
Oh, yeah.
You love them.
Oh, yeah.
They're very angry. I absolutely love them.
I love Rage. Audio Slave will hands down be one of my favorite albums of all time. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And so, like, when you're on stage, like, one of the things that I really appreciate about you is how you communicate with the rest of the band without communicating with the rest of the band. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is that something you've learned along the way?
I think that's the magic part.
Yeah.
Especially when you play. I've been playing with my band members for years. So it's almost like you can read each other's mind. And sometimes I'll be thinking what I'm going to play, like rhythmically, and the drummer, who, I have my back to him, and we'll just play the same thing. And and we look at each other like, wow. So that is the magic of, I'm lucky to have the same loyal people that have played me for a really long time. So yeah, there's many times where you don't plan things just happen, where you just have a certain look, and they understand the look. Or don't go to the bridge. No, yeah, there's definitely some magic that happens on stage. And that's what you strive for. It doesn't always happen, like when I'm playing, I don't always get into the zone, you call it, where I just play some fantastic solo that I go, wow, I don't know if I'll be able to do that again. Those moments happen. I wish it was every time I play it. And it's funny, I was at this event a couple of years ago in Vegas that Satriani put together. It's called G4, and I treated myself to this extremely expensive few days, and went and got to meet him. But I mainly went there because Eric Gales was there, who's my favorite guitar player in the world, and he did a few classes, and he had a moment where everybody was asking questions, and I realized that, many of the people they'd been playing for some time, but they'd never really been in the zone. And unless you've been in there, it's hard to describe what it is. But I was trying to say that to him, and he goes, yeah, the zone. That's kind of where I am all the time. I go, well, that's my goal.
That's
not
not
what
fair.
it sounds like. It doesn't sound like he's just so expressive. So
I feel that way about Victor Wooten.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh my goodness, what a bass player.
Yeah, so as long as I've been playing, it's not always in the zone. That's always my hope. So
Yeah.
I really am picking and choosing what shows I do. Like, I love the Mekong Bistro.
Yeah.
In fact, me and Saran, the owner, we've written a song together.
That's so
I
awesome.
have big plans for the song because it's absolutely stellar.
Oh, I love it.
And because we had a conversation. He goes, I'd really like to write a song someday. And I go, I see people that are dying to write songs, and really, the best thing to do is just communicate. Like you're having a conversation.
Yeah.
Simple language, like Dolly. Dolly never had any schooling. She's not using any big words. She's really just talking about her life or her feelings. And so he gave me some lyrics that night. And I could tell they were about his wife. So I finished it. He needed 2 more verses, so I put 2 verses in. I was inspired by my boyfriend. I was thinking about him. So we made the stellar kind of love song together.
That's awesome.
And we play it, whenever I'm there playing, I'll have him sit in and we play it together. But we've also recorded it, so.
Is that which song is that?
It's called Anything's Possible.
Anything's Possible. It's actually the intro to my podcast.
Sorry?
That's actually the intro to my podcast.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It was one of those things where I didn't even put it out there. Like I was really struggling, like, how do I find an intro? How do I find an intro? And it was Saran that texted me like a week after I said like this. It's like, hey, how would you feel about this song being the intro to your podcast?
Awesome.
I'm like, what kind of timing is that?
That.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
the first few bars, the first bars of this up until If You Knew Me Before, You Wouldn't Even Know My Name is where it sort of cuts out to where the beginning of the show
Very
is.
nice.
Yeah. It's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful song. And like it's one of those songs where you can relate to if you've been in love. But it's also, like you said, it's digestible because it speaks to that common language of love. And I love songs like that because they have like a special meaning, but also like rhythmically, and it's a good song. Yeah.
I was in the zone when I wrote that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I was inspired. I was so inspired by his lyrics.
Yeah. His story. Oof.
Oh, his stories. Wow.
Yeah. And I talked to him for about an hour, and we barely scratched the surface of his life story. Like,
I love supporting that venue.
Yeah.
I'm trying to talk him into doing. I don't really need to talk him into it. He's up for it. I want to record some more songs with you. I've got like 3 more of his songs, so I'm writing lyrics for him. And we should do the Mekong River tour to Cambodia. So yeah, we're talking about it.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. It would, and that would be like you all doing actual tour in Cambodia, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be
Cambodia,
awesome.
Laos, Vietnam.
Oh, that would be epic. That would be so epic. And then so in terms of like, because you also taught singing, right? What would your advice be to somebody who wants to start to sing? Like, where do you start? Does it matter if you're a singer to like know music, to like be able to read music, or?
All right, none of those things matter.
Thank you.
The only thing that matters is that you enjoy what you're doing. So teaching was something I started to do because I needed the money, because I had done every single job I could think of.
Yeah.
And then I realized when I started that I was born to do this job, because I really put thought into this. I'd already been educated to death. I started with the jazz studies degree, and I got this degree in commercial music. So I had basically 3 degrees. Nothing taught me how to teach. So I had to think back in time, like, okay, what would I want somebody to teach me? Like, man, I didn't have that many good teachers. I had lots of teachers, but not really anybody asked me what I liked, what were my goals. So that's the first thing. I'd sit down.
Pause for a second here. You're throwing a curveball to my. You had teachers who never asked you what your.
I had teachers, yeah, it's phenomenal. I had a handful of really amazing teachers that were my mentors that really made a difference, but mostly, no, I was flabbergasted. So I decided to be the teacher that I never really had.
Yeah.
So the first meeting we would talk about, what do you like? What are your goals? The goals could be singing at my wedding. Okay, these are not professional musicians, and some people didn't want to perform, and I would never push that.
Mm-hmm.
It could be traumatizing. So I would really pinpoint, what are your goals? What music do you like? Because I didn't want anybody working on stuff they didn't like, because that was a few of my teachers made me sing stuff that I couldn't connect to.
And that's hard when you have to sing what you're not connected to over and over again. It's like, what's the point?
Really hard to memorize something you can't sing.
Yeah.
That's it. And, enjoy. This is a big one, because this is, people are just so, it's such a personal thing to sing out loud in front of people. It's so terrifying. And you really just have to enjoy this long journey, because you never get to the point, well, I learned everything. I'm at the tippy top. You have to enjoy it. You have to forgive yourself. You have to give yourself props for improvements that you make. And get out there and sing as much as you can. Play as much as gather. When I was 10 years old, I literally knew 3 chords. Somehow I managed to get people together, and we'd play a bunch of 3-chord songs. It was divine. I've always done that. I've always loved being in bands and having people play together. So that's most of my thing. And as far as writing songs, get a life that's interesting. That could be a life that's happy or filled with pain or have experiences. Just write about your life. Don't try to make it difficult or complicated.
And go to a jam.
Yeah, I did a lot of jams.
Go to a jam.
Yeah, go to a jam. I ran a jam for 10 years in LA. I'm still hosting a jam at Nikon. We'll do that like every 3 months.
That's awesome.
Next one's June 29th. So I hosted a jam. I brought my students there. I hosted a jam every month for 10 years down in LA. And it was incredible. Give them a chance to perform with professional musicians and network and meet other people. And then those people ended up teaming up together. I absolutely love that.
I've been going to the jam in Salem now for a few months.
Nice.
And I still don't know how Ish managed to talk me into getting on stage, but she did.
Yeah?
Yeah. I haven't sang, I used to sing when I was a teenager, and I just stopped for years. Because I really thought, that's where my autistic brain gets in the way, I really thought you had to know music to be a singer.
Oh, no.
And so I just gave up.
Okay, think about your heroes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think anyone in Metallica went to music school?
No.
Okay.
No. Or Maynard? No.
Neither did Hendrix.
Yeah. Yeah.
Neither did Dolly. I absolutely love Dolly's writing. She's just prolific and amazing. So my heroes, none of them went to college. I was just trying to get the paper so I could get a day job that made sense to me. I want to teach music, and I had my little experience with academia, and I never wanted to do it again. So
yeah,
that was my reason for being in school.
I don't blame you there either. I worked in academia for about 6 years, and that was enough for me.
That's rough.
Yeah, the politics is strange.
I was inspired because when I was in Seattle, I barely made it through high school.
Yeah.
I went to an alternative high school for my last year. It was a great school. Summit High. It was a great school for kids that they just didn't fit in for whatever reason. They were either flunking out or they were just too smart. They just did not fit into the normal public school system. So I thrived in that, but I didn't have enough math. I'd already flunked out of years of math. And I went to community college, and I had to start from 3rd grade and go work my way up with the math and English. And I did that on my own. I paid for it myself, and I really wanted to be there. And I got straight A's, and I loved that environment. That's kind of what I was aiming for when I was getting my degree. I want to teach at the community college because I had such great memories.
Yeah.
From Seattle Central Community College. And that was not my experience when I had that job. It was very political.
It's fascinating how it is that way, but I totally get that too. I went to community college before I joined the military and failed because I didn't know how to study. No one ever taught me.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of that stuff. And so when I joined the military and I got out, I went back to college. And luckily, I found a group of people who actually taught me how to study. And it was just, if it wasn't for that, I don't know I would succeed. But then I just went on. I got my master's degree from UW in 2011.
Nice.
And
I started at UW. I was very miserable there. The music department was very sad.
It's bittersweet, though, because even though I have this master's degree from UW, it has not led to a single job.
Yeah, I think that happens for a lot of people. What did you study?
Executive Masters of Public Administration.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. hasn't led to a single job.
The jobs are there, and sometimes you just kind of branch off into something else.
Yeah. And so like now I work for the state as my day job, and I do this sort of as my passion project.
Awesome.
And it's been a wild ride in the last year. Yeah.
So what are you saying when you go to the gym?
Oh man, probably the last time I was there, I sung "Outside" by Stained.
Nice.
I love singing Stained. I love singing anything from Maynard.
Mhm.
He's my favorite, and except for the screaming part, I can do it really well. I never really did manage to do the whole screaming thing, but I do have like a gravelly sort of loud voice. Like I could do "Sound of Silence" by Disturbed, like on point.
Nice. I just heard that the other day. It gave me
Oh,
chills.
I love that one
So
better than the
good.
original. Yeah, and so so that those are my sort of go-tos. Um,
So you got to make sure that your song, talk about teaching again,
yeah, yeah,
because it's really discouraging. If you're singing a song that's not in your key, it's going to be really frustrating.
yeah.
The screaming stuff is out there in the stratosphere. It's very high. But yeah, you have to have somebody help you kind of find your perfect key. If something doesn't feel right, it's not really in that sweet spot.
And I didn't acknowledge or realize that a lot of bands there are two people singing, and I didn't realize that it's like in some of them, like I'm trying to hit both parts,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh wait, Sully in Godsmack doesn't hit this part ever.
Uh-huh.
He only hits this range. I can do that range. Somebody else picks up that other piece, and it's like
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that. And so I was like, oh,
Can you hear
okay.
that with earbuds on?
Sometimes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
one voice usually sings the melody, and somebody sings a higher harmony or lower harmony.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when I use actually earbuds, no, but when I use my active noise canceling headphones,
Uh-huh.
you can hear just about
Yeah,
everything.
those are lovely.
Yeah. Those are a lifesaver. And so like something that I do hear from time to time from musicians is like, what do you do when you start to have a strained voice? Like, do you have any tips for like singers who are like, oh, I have something in the back of my throat?
You rest, but you don't not sing at all. And there's certain exercises you can do because you don't want to get atrophied.
Yeah.
So I do something simple like I mean, just making any kind of noise like that. It's not hurting my vocal cords. But you want to
Yeah.
do something that's just really gentle on your throat.
And then do you do anything for like a warm up if you're going to sing?
Yeah, I do all kinds of exercises.
Yeah.
Kind of hundreds of exercises. So I talk for so long. There's a popular one where it's and some people can't do either one.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do.
I don't know if I can do the
Roll
second
your
one.
R's.
The
Yeah, that's it.
okay.
That's it. That's kind of like gently, it's not putting any pressure on your vocal cords when you warm up like that.
Yeah.
Just singing a simple 5-note scale.
Okay.
It's very calming.
And then in terms of like on stage, right? So let's say you're playing and do you always have a backup guitar just in case you break a string?
Mostly because I hate to change strings.
Yeah.
I hate to change strings so much that I've heard people complain, like, Kathryn, you need to change your strings. And you can hear how dead they are. I pay someone to change my strings because I hate it so much. So, yeah, that's how much I don't like it. I bring an extra guitar.
I appreciate that.
You asked some good questions. They're very practical. I like that.
And then in terms of like playing like from venue to venue, one of the things I always like to ask musicians is what do you like to see from the crowd?
Appreciation.
How, in what form?
Well, I did do this open mic when I first came to Portland.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been performing for decades, right? So I'm just trying to make some new friends, network. So I went to an open mic, and there was a table of people in front of me that talked the entire time that I was playing. Then I played some original music. I get off, I go, wow, that was unbelievably rude. So they made an announcement who's next. So this girl stands up, and she was at the table. One of the ones was black. And I go, really? You're next? Wow, you wouldn't stop talking the entire time I performed. That was incredibly rude. I just was very vocal about it because I just thought it was, appreciation is just important. It's just nice.
Yeah.
just, pay attention. But, clubs aren't really made for that. People are going, they're socializing, they want to talk. But I think the Mekong is more of a listening room
Oh,
than most
100%.
clubs.
Yeah.
That's why I have an issue playing bars because people are networking. They're kind of hooking up even sometimes. They're inebriated sometimes. They're not really listening. So
People actually get mad at me sometimes because when I'm listening to music, now the musicians don't get mad at me, it's my friends because I'll tell them to shut up.
aw,
Because like
thank you.
I'm here for the music. I'm not here to like to mingle or to be like when I go to see a band, like I want to see the music and feel the music. I
Yeah.
don't want to, like it's an investment to go. You're investing your time, your money, your effort, and the bands are there investing their time, money, and effort. It should be mutually exclusive, where you're there to see them and you should enjoy them and not just don't be rude, I guess is the real
Yeah,
thing.
well, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, well, I think it's important, and also like the strange part about my autism, right? I have to listen to a record from start to finish.
Hmm.
I can't just listen to one song because I feel it's disrespectful to the
So
artist.
the order for you is really,
Really important.
yeah.
Yeah, because I want to go along the journey that the band went along the journey.
Well, I appreciate that because now
Yeah,
everything is a file.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm really putting thought into, when I make an order, I'm really putting, it's not really, my album this time is not, it's kind of odd. It's like a mixture of multiple styles,
yeah,
miscellaneous.
yeah.
So it's not really telling a story as we go along, but it's in an interesting order that makes sense. It's kind of going from a ballad to something that's up tempo. Not too many ballads because I don't want people to get morose, but it's important. It's very important. But I don't think most people are thinking about this because they can just buy one little song. Everything's a file.
And that's just it's just, I don't know. I don't know what the right term to call that is, but it bothers me when people are like that. Because it's like, what about the rest of this? Because like, uh, one album in particular that I always go to is a Tool Ladder Atlas album,
Uh-huh.
and it starts on this journey of every song feeds into the next and feeds into the next, and it's to the point where you could tell as they've played out the album, they've increased or decreased the count by like one or two on every song,
Uh-huh.
and so everyone matches mathematically throughout the whole thing.
Wow.
I don't know if they did that on purpose, but I'm a what do they call that? Extreme pattern recognition kind of guy.
Nice.
And so I was like, oh, that's got to be on purpose. But I always appreciate bands
I
that kind
wonder.
of
It'd
go
be
there.
nice to know.
Yeah. If I ever get a chance to interview
Maybe we
them,
can write
I'll
some.
find out.
They don't have Twitter.
Yeah.
Do they still have Twitter?
Yeah. I'm sure.
Maybe you can.
But they're way too big for me.
That's a way you can ask them. That's really. I want to hear that from somebody. That's really interesting. It might just be an accident.
Yeah, it could be. And I want to know.
Very
And
cool.
do you do the sort of same planning out with like your sets on stage too?
Uh, yes, I do. I always write a set list. But I always change the set list, and my band knows that because I'm just kind of reading the room or my mood, because
Yeah.
you just don't know what you're going to feel like, what the room is like, and you look at the list, and that's not going to work. So I just kind of I jump around.
And I do appreciate how that comes into play too,
Yeah.
because the crowd definitely comes into play when you're doing a live show. And you've kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of feed on the energy of the crowd and it can sort of shift in the moment. And you're like, this song would be better here just based on how they're dancing or how they're sort of, yeah,
Mhm.
that's got to be amazing.
Yeah,
And like,
my band expects that to happen.
yeah.
They always laugh like, "Oh yeah, the set list."
But as a fan too, I appreciate that because I always dreaded going to a show where the show was going to be the same every single night.
Mhm.
Uh, I always prefer the imperfection of a live performance over a studio album because it's just something about the energy. Because I'm a firm believer that like venues and instruments and all of that have memory, and all of the memory of all of the previous shows sort of feed into the energy and build on to the next. I always
Wow.
believe that.
Very nice.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where I don't know, I'll always love music that way. Yeah. And then you had sent me that link to that song that you wrote before.
Yeah, the song's like a year old. It's going to be on my album.
Can you talk about that, or is it too soon?
No, it's just I just lost my mother,
Mhm.
and then there were just so many. I had a contractor working on my house. He just ripped me off. I couldn't even deal with it. It was freezing in my little blue van that I bought. I had an 87 Toyota van that was, I only made it for 2 years, and it's out in the freezing cold ice, and he's not doing anything. He's not finishing, and it's just a pile of stress, more stress. I had some dental work to do. I had some people staying here. I was like it was just so much.
Huge stress ball.
Seattle over and over, and I had to move to Seattle because my mom was declining. So I hadn't played any music, and I was thinking, sometimes you feel as a musician, sometimes life throws you a curveball, and you think, I don't think I can do it anymore. It's just so it's so much work. So I was in one of those moods, and I came down here and I sat on the ground. I think I was playing that guitar, that acoustic guitar, and I cranked out a verse and the chorus, which is bullshit blues, and I laughed. I like the first time I laughed in weeks, right? So I just chuckled and go, "This is funny. This is pretty good." So I just kept on going, and yeah, that song is what happened during that period of my life. So.
And how did you get introduced to the blues in particular?
Well, I've always listened to, boy, in the beginning, I listened to a lot of blues. It was playing in my house a lot. My mom was a singer. She's a phenomenal singer. So she listened to Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, neither of who I liked at the time at all, because I was 13.
Yeah.
I couldn't relate to that. I definitely did later. And I was listening to Hendrix, my sister's record collection. He's kind of rock and blues and older blues. And, I think because I got that degree in jazz, it was like a year or 2.5 years. And a lot of my credits did not transfer, so it took me forever to get that BA. And so I was listening to a lot of jazz, which I enjoyed, really like that. But after it was over, I was exhausted, and God, I just want to go back to playing 3 chords. I just kind of miss the simplicity of 3 chords. So it was just kind of a continuation of what I've already been doing. I got out of school, and I go, man, I'm just going. In fact, I have a song called "Going Back." It's kind of it's more about a relationship. But I was thinking at the time, I'm just going to go back to what I was doing before I started all this education, because I was in school for 5 years.
Yeah.
4 years. So probably the early records that I was listening to, that's kind of got me started. And then, I don't know, it's something I never get tired. I can listen to the same Stevie Ray Vaughan song over and over for decades on end and never get, seriously.
I relate to that
He's
so
like
many
my
ways.
hero. And Hendrix, and now Eric Gillis, of course. I just never get tired of hearing it.
I feel that way about the Nikki Jones band at the moment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like I go to her practice twice a month, usually, sometimes more often.
That's so cool.
Just because, and I could just listen to them play all day. Yeah,
they're awesome.
So, I've heard the same songs thousands of times, and it never gets old.
Brandon's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, Brandon. I've seen him do some things in practice that just totally blow me away.
It's amazing.
When he just kind of pulls out Hendrix on the side note, and you're like, I didn't know you could do that. But anyway, but you're incredible as well, though. I'm telling you, the solos that you had up there the other night, they were just spot on. And I love the way how you bend the strings. How hard was that to sort of pick up?
Well, I had pretty small hands. I'm pretty weak, so to do the perfect bend,
Yeah.
just note-wise and not go too sharp or flat on the way down. It takes time. You think something like that would be a cinch. It's not. Nothing was easy for me at all.
Yeah.
Even singing, like my mom, she opens her mouth, and she was a born singer. She didn't really realize how phenomenal she sounded like Ella a lot of the time. But for me, it was at work. I had to sing for years to really sing, and with feeling. I think that I learned that from my late partner. He was really, really helpful in me getting to sing, to really think, what are you singing about? You want to connect to the lyrics. And that helped a lot.
And how do you go about not forgetting the words? That's my downfall most often.
Well, sometimes you forget the words, but if you think that you might forget the words, write a cheat sheet. Write, with big Sharpie, you have it somewhere where nobody can see it, and just knowing that it's there
is enough sometimes.
You might not even need to look at it at all. So cheat sheets are, I'm big on cheat sheets.
I appreciate that. Because that was one of the things that I regretted when I got up on stage, is like I had a mind blank and I had to pull out my phone for the lyrics to sort of finish it.
It's because it's stressful. It's nerve-wracking. You get on stage, you get nervous.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. There's no crime in having a cheat sheet. Just put it on the floor.
I don't get nervous doing this at all. You get me on the stage.
Yeah, very different, very personal.
Yeah. There's no room. I don't know if the room is the right way, but when you're up on stage and the lights are sort of on you and everybody's sort of looking at you, though, I think the pressure is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is just a normal conversation. I love having these conversations.
But even sometimes when you know that song, you've sang it like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
The nerves can make you forget. So I really would recommend just having them there, just as a comfort.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I went to go see the Pretenders years ago in Seattle at the Coliseum.
Mm-hmm.
She forgot like an entire phrase, like 2 complete lines, and she said, she used the F word. She screamed out loud. Her band wasn't very well rehearsed. I think that she hadn't had a chance to really rehearse with them. But everybody forgets the words. It just happens.
And then in terms of like supporting your fellow musicians, right? What would you say to those musicians in Portland and those musicians in Salem? Like how can you support each other better? Because one of the things that I'm starting to see, especially in the Portland scene, is that there are some musicians here that are very supportive and very nurturing and very welcoming, and then others may not be as much. And it's like such a shame when you see some musicians that aren't as willing to be open and friendly and sort of help out their fellow musicians.
I have a big suggestion.
Yeah.
When people post their music online,
yeah,
listen to it.
Yeah.
Because it's, I have many friends that write, and we're putting our blood, sweat, and tears in these songs, and you put them on Facebook. You have like 3,000 friends, and nobody listens to it. But, the crow that like landed on my head.
Yeah.
I was going for a run, and the crow like slammed into my head. Because I think I was next to its nest. That got like more views than any post I ever put ever on Facebook. So listen to each other's music. Acknowledge each other. That doesn't require going to a club or spending any money.
Yeah.
It's just appreciating other people's work.
Because like the threshold too is very small. Like if you just have 100 people listen, subscribe, and like, it makes a lot of difference.
Major difference. Yeah.
A lot of difference. And frankly, it doesn't take people. It doesn't take a lot of effort. I'm surprised it doesn't happen as more often. Yeah. But it's also 3.5 minutes of an adventure and listening to good music.
Yeah.
I think that's the piece too.
So,
yeah.
Musicians out there, listen to other people's music. Help them, encourage them. Because it does get lonely. It's and you get discouraged. Because it's not, just a bunch of rewards at all times.
Yeah.
But that helps, when you're validated, go, yeah, okay, I chose the right thing for my life. There's no way I could do anything else at this point anyway. I just can't imagine not being a musician.
Yeah.
I'm kind of committed here. It really helps to get validation from others, from your peers.
And it really is something that's needed. Because one of the things that I've noticed, especially in the last 6 months, is that the crowds are starting to come back. Because like when I started down this journey about a year ago, there would be like 3, 4 people everywhere I would go,
Yeah.
and now it's
Recovering from
starting to finally recover from COVID,
yeah.
and I'm really hopeful that it continues in that direction because like there's so many things. And the odd thing is that sometimes like I'll buy 2 tickets. Like I always buy 2 tickets.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I can't find anybody to go.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It happens all the time. All the time.
What do you want tickets to?
Let's see. I have 2 tickets to the VIP for Sean Daly and the Shams next week.
Oh.
I bought 4 tickets to the Blues Cruise for the
Okay,
journey to
you
Memphis.
come on, call me.
Yeah. Okay, you got it.
I love
Yeah.
to go out. I love going out to see. I'm not playing constantly like I was when I first came here.
Yeah.
I met some musicians immediately when I got here. My bass player, Fizzle, he changed his name to Miguel because he had moved to Ecuador. But I love Fizzle. Sorry, Fizzle. He introduced me to this great network of musicians, and then eventually I ended up. My goal right from the get-go. The reason that I moved to Portland.
Yeah.
Well, when I was tired of Seattle, I needed to get out of there. But I came to the blues festival when Robert Plant was playing. So this is This is maybe 12 years ago, and it blew my mind. I've been to thousands of concerts, but there was something about the vibe. The boats on the water,
Yeah.
the screens, the way it was set up, where the bands weren't playing at the same time. The sound was impeccable. I'm moving to Portland and I'm playing the blues festival. So that's always been the goal. I have played the blues festival with other people. I'm still trying to get in there with my band. But that was it for me. I knew I needed to be here. It was really inspiring. It's a really great event.
It'll be my first time going.
Yeah, so I'm not playing. I was playing quite a bit, backing other people up and playing a little bit too much, I think. So now I'm just kind of being selective, and I'm changing my career. I'm still going to be a performer. I'm not teaching anymore because I'm producing. I'm trying to get my skills with Pro Tools together so I can at least produce my own stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to produce other people, but really hone in on my songwriting and focus on that completely. So I'm not busy every night of the week like I used to be. So call me if you need anyone to accompany you.
You got it.
What are you doing on July 7th?
I'd have to grab my
June
phone, but
7th.
June
Okay,
7th?
we'll talk about it later.
I will probably be in Vegas.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
You're in Vegas.
Seeing Sean Daly and the Shams again, actually.
Where?
So they're playing in front of 30,000 rabid Irish soccer fans.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was one of those.
Interesting.
Yeah. I threw out in the universe, like, I want to go to a traveling concert. So I am finally completely done with a very toxic relationship. And I wanted to celebrate by having an amazing time in Vegas and going backstage at a concert. And I threw that out in the universe. And then my friend Leanne, sent me a message saying, "Hey, we're playing in Vegas. Like, why don't you come hang out with us?" I'm like,
Nice.
let's do it. Yeah. So I'm heading out to Vegas, but I think I might be back on the 7th. So I'll have to double check. But yeah, if I'm still around, absolutely.
Eddie Martinez.
Oh.
My friend Ramsey plays keyboard. He's awesome. They're playing
Okay.
that night. And I have a gig that night with Holly Olson, singer-songwriter night. So I'm going to be late. So I need someone to go there for me ahead of time and wait for an hour because, I don't think you could then keep your ticket if you're not there. So
Really?
yeah, I'm having that feeling now. That's kind of what Ramsey mentioned. So
Okay.
if you're in town, let me know.
I'll figure out as soon as we're done with this. I'll let you know.
It's gonna be a good show.
And I love music. I'll never tire of seeing live shows. Yeah. And I'm fortunate enough now where I can actually afford to go. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's been life for me has been really good the last couple of years. Ever since that chapter was closed. I was really rededicated my life to kindness and humility.
Nice.
And that
More people
has
should be
been,
doing that.
100%, 100%. Like, and I always was kind, right? Which is probably why I was taken advantage of to begin with. But I had sort of lost that kindness to sort of match my partner's energy.
Uh-huh.
And then when you sever that tie and you remember what it's like to be kindness and humble, like,
Yeah.
oh man, why was I?
You don't have that anxiety anymore.
Yeah, it's so freeing. It's almost like liberating. Like it's just been one magical
So
moment.
many songs about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. hmm Oh, it's been great. Well, we've been at this for over an hour.
Wow.
So, anything else? So, where can people find your music? This is the biggest important
Well,
thing.
it's supposed to be all over the internet. I'm not really good at promoting myself. That's going to be my new job coming up because I'm releasing 2 albums.
Yeah.
The album's produced by my boyfriend Dennis Moody. Just Google him. He's incredible.
He's an amazing musician all of himself.
And I've got some name people on the album. I can drop some names, but I'm going to be selling it, the usual ways on social media, which will be, I'm not have decided yet,
Yeah.
but whatever way I can get the most exposure. But I think I'm going to make a video for every song. I do a lot of videos that they're just simple, just lyric videos, because I think people need to view. It's hard to sit. I think a lot of people have trouble sitting and just listening. I think they need the visual. So just a simple music video with lyrics going by is fine with me. So I'm excited about that. I'm going down to LA tomorrow, in fact, to hopefully finish everything up. And
That's awesome.
so I'm going to have the blues EP and then a full-length CD. Very, very happy about that. So,
And I can attest for many, many, many of my friends who are ADHD or on the autism spectrum, having the video with the words is so accessible
yes.
and opens up the world to music to people who may not be otherwise to be able to sit and sort of follow it. So I appreciate that so much.
So I like to, even if they're not, a lot of my songs are fiction. They're not all autobiographical, but
Yeah.
I need to know the story. I'm just like that. True or not true. That's why I like those simple videos. It just helps so much.
Well, Kathryn, this has been a great interview.
Really good. You got some really good questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Really, really good at this.
Thank you. And I think this will be a successful one. So thank you very much. And I'll end the show. I always end the show, people. We share the same air. We're on the same planet together. Be kind. Be nice. You only live once on this planet. Thank you, Kathryn.
Namaste.
Namaste.